Today is the 27th Sunday of the year. Our Gospel text is taken from Mark chapter 10, verses 2 through 16. Mark tells us of one of those occasions in which the Pharisees try to trap Jesus. He says explicitly they asked a question about divorce in order to test him. Now, it was well known that the question of divorce as such had been settled. It was part of the Mosaic law. Deuteronomy chapter 24, verses 1 through 4 said so. The only point at issue was whether or not the reason was good enough for the divorce to happen. A man, a husband, could divorce his wife. Unlike Roman law, incidentally, where a woman could also divorce her husband, in Jewish Mosaic law, the woman was not allowed to divorce her husband. This is significant in the context in which we are reflecting because it holds out the potential for oppression of women. It raises the issue of the status of women. So Jesus sees through the ruse and deals with it as he's dealt with similar challenges on at least two other occasions. In chapter 2, you will recall the picking of corn on the Sabbath day. The Pharisees are there, watching. They challenge Jesus, and Jesus says, the Sabbath is made for us. We're not made for the Sabbath. And in chapter 7, there's a question of clean and unclean. And again, the Pharisees challenge Jesus about washing and rituals and so forth. And again, Jesus basically gives them the same message. He goes deeper. He goes beyond the law to the intent of the law, the intent of God. Law is about covenant. Law is about opening ourselves, making ourselves available to be loved into freedom by God. Law can get in the way when law is treated as an end in itself. Jesus tells them that this Mosaic law in Deuteronomy chapter 24, verses 1 through 4, was introduced as an exception. It wasn't so from the beginning. It was made as an exception because of their hardness of heart. Now that's a hammer blow. That will catch their attention because it implies infidelity. They would be very familiar with Psalm 95. Oh, that today you would listen to his voice. Harden not your hearts as at Meribah, as at the day of Massah in the desert, when your fathers put me to the test, when they tried me, though they saw my works. Having got their attention, Jesus says, in the beginning, the time of creation, God made man and woman. A man shall leave his mother and his father and cleave to his wife. The two shall become one flesh. The conversation has shifted from the non-issue of divorce, although it will emerge in a moment, in the context of the beauty and the wonder of what is now the subject of the conversation, marriage between a husband and a wife, a participation in God's creative and creating love. The man and the woman, the husband and the wife, become co-creative with God. What a remarkable image. What a wonderful thing. In that context, the phrase, the two shall become one flesh, has a particular richness. The two shall become. The implication is that they're on a journey. Over time, they will become increasingly one with each other and one with God who has called them together. Two shall become one flesh. What a beautiful, amazing way to think of marriage. It epitomized the relationship between Christ and the church, between us and Christ, according to St. Paul. Spiritual authors down through the ages have used marriage as a metaphor for so much in terms of God's relationship with us. And the hard truth of the matter is that seldom do we live out that wonderful image. Marriage is a vulnerable journey, a fragile journey. It needs all the support it can get. It needs to be protected and nurtured. And so when Jesus is alone with the disciples, he tells them, he said, divorce shouldn't happen, shouldn't break this relationship. If a man divorces his wife and marries another, he commits adultery. Adultery is the great metaphor for infidelity. And if a woman divorces her husband, she commits adultery if she marries again. And in that, embedded in that, Jesus is in not only protecting the marriage relationship, he's honoring the status of women. They share responsibility, equal responsibility with the men. Pope Francis honors this in the Synod of the Family, which happened in 2015. Out of that synod, Pope Francis wrote a beautiful apostolic exhortation called Amoris Laetitia. Chapter 8, I highly recommend that you go to it. You can get it on Google, where Pope Francis deals with the human reality of endeavoring to live out this marvelous vision, this beautiful vision of married life. And he speaks of the frailty, a frailty that will mean the church's task, he says, is often like that of a field hospital. And all people, all married people, but all people need pastoral care that is merciful and helpful. One final thought, that this is very much in tune with part of the whole incarnation event. We are called into the reality of Jesus, the embodiment of God, to become one with Christ. His is a journey of reconciliation, of reconciling. Includes the cross, the greatest manifestation of love. Marriage, in the Christian view, includes the cross, the beauty of marriage, the beauty of love, includes the sacrifice, the laying down of one's life. It is in union with Jesus that husband and wife find the epitome of their own union, the sacramental union of husband and wife.